Hello everyone, this is Matt from Real World Review, and today we're going to be replacing the screen on the Samsung S23 Ultra. This one is going to be in frame because it's generally cheaper than buying the one that is out of frame, and also if it is out of frame, you're probably not going to be watching a video to do that one. So this one's going to be in frame. So the tools you're going to need are going to be a PH000 driver, a razor blade, a plastic pick, a playing card, and some heat. You also need some adhesive and possibly some glue and clamps depending on how you put the back glass on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to heat up the back. We're going to stay mostly in the sides and on the bottom, trying to stay away from the camera for as long as we can. We are going to add some heat, but we want to make sure we don't melt the cameras. So what we're going to do is we're going to heat it up and we're going to get a razor blade in between the frame and the back glass, just enough so then we can get a playing card in there to cut through the adhesive. Then we're going to keep cutting through the adhesive with that playing card, and if it does get tough, you want to add some more heat because you definitely don't want to break the back glass. Just keep doing this over and over. I recommend going a little bit on the left side, but mainly cutting through the adhesive on the bottom, then going through the right side, and then finally working towards cutting through the adhesive so we can fold over the back glass to the left where the cameras are. If it doesn't come off, you might just have to cut through the adhesive like this, going all the way up to the cameras, but eventually the back will come off. Next thing you could do is work on the phone, but since the back is hot, I do recommend removing the adhesive that's on the frame. It's definitely easier while the adhesive is warm, but it's up to you if you want to do this. I chose to do this right now. Next, we're going to grab the PH000 driver and we're going to remove all the screws, making sure to put them to the side in the order that we took them out. And this is going to be every screw that you see, not just the top or the bottom, including the ones on the side, if your phone has those. Next, we're going to grab a plastic pick and unplug these two antennas right here and lift up this metal piece. There is a little bit of adhesive on this camera, but it should come out really easily. Then we're going to fold it down like this, unplug the battery right here, and then we're going to unplug this little speaker right here and try to lift it up in this area. And for me, it just flew out, but it should just lift up kind of at an angle. Next, we can start unplugging all the cables that we see on here, including the camera and the bottom cables, carefully. If you have the 5G antenna, then what you want to do is unplug it like this and remove it on the right side. Just carefully lift up and try to get the adhesive to stick on. Then grabbing on the top and the bottom on the right side, you can just lift the board out of the frame. Next we're going to do is with the pick, just slightly lift up the bottom speaker and it should lift up like that. If you haven't already, remove the SIM tray. Then we're going to grab the PH000 bit again and we're going to remove these bottom three screws and then it should lift out like this. I recommend starting at the right screw area and lifting up with the plastic pick. We can also unplug the screen cable, again with the plastic pick. Just be careful not to break anything. If you do have the 5G antenna on the left side, you can just simply take that out. Next, we want to remove the S Pen, again, if you haven't already, and then we can finally go to the front camera. Now, what I recommend is getting thin tweezers like this or something really small to kind of just push out the glue like this. You don't need heat, but you can add a few seconds of heat, not a lot if you need to. I don't recommend alcohol because it doesn't really do anything, but all you got to do is remove the glue on both sides and it should just fall out. Then to remove the battery, they made it easy. All you got to do is just move this pull tab like this and just kind of grab onto it and carefully lift it up, making sure not to bend the battery or push down on the battery while you do this. But with some force, it kind of just lifts out like this. Then you can twist this little plastic thing so then you can get the sleeve out. It might have some adhesive on it. It's up to you if you want to remove it. I do recommend removing it and applying new adhesive if you're going to do that. I do recommend applying adhesive onto the new frame so then it can just stick down very easily. So now that we have the battery in the new frame, we can move all this stuff and put the logic board down, as well as the front camera, and start plugging in some of the cables. We can also put this speaker back in, plug that in, and put those screws back in. If you have the 5G antenna, feel free to put that in right now. And if you do actually have another 5G antenna, sometimes there will be screw holes and you could just screw this antenna back in. But unfortunately, this one does not have that. So you actually have to remove this entire metal piece that it sits in and just let it sit in there. You can add a little bit of adhesive if you want to, but it doesn't really matter because this 5G antenna isn't even going to go through the metal. Next, we can put in the charging port, just kind of line it up down like this, kind of like what you're going to do with the speaker, and push it in, making sure that the screw holes are going to be going through properly. Then you can put all 3 of those screws back in to make sure that it stays in place. Then you want to plug in those cables, making sure that the cables are also plugged into the subboard as well. Then we can plug in the screen cable, starting with the bottom one and then going with the top cable. And at this point, we can plug in the battery, because what we're going to do is we're going to put the bottom speaker back in, making sure that that clips in place and the screw holes line up properly, and the top metal piece is lined up as well. Then you can plug in those 2 cables as well. Now we can start putting in all the screws that go into the right places, and of course the left 2 screws are going to be left out if your frame didn't have those screw holes. Next, you want to add adhesive around the edges, and like I said, if you haven't already, remove the adhesive from the old back so then we can put this new adhesive on and it's going to stick well. Generally, the S23 Ultra does well with just this adhesive, but if you want to add some B7000 or that type of glue, you can feel free to do it around the edges. Put the back on and add some clamps, but I'm just going to do adhesive and we're just going to set this back in place and try to power on the phone. Looks like the battery's dead. So it's been a few minutes on the charger, but it does power on and everything seems to be working fine. Hopefully this video helped you out. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.